Hello and welcome. Bonjour et bienvenue. This video was created in response to a specific request. And if you have such a request for some help with Excel, please consider letting me know in the comments. In this case, I was asked to provide some tips and tricks for creating a table from nothing. I know a lot of administrators are asked to work with existing spreadsheets in which the data ranges are already prepared, but not everyone knows how to create a data range in the first place from a blank spreadsheet. So in this module, we'll quickly review how to create columns, quickly format their width, and explore several quick filling options that are built into Excel. So first I'm going to add some headers. Entry, name, last name, first name, province, territory, and abbreviation. I'm going to select the entire row 1 and make that bold. We can make column E a little wider by dragging it out. I like to start by making an entry column on the left, as it can be very useful for defining the dimensions of the data range. Having a leftmost column also allows you to use the double-click shortcut to drag copy a column, as we first saw in the video on formula references. You can delete the entry column afterwards if you don't need it. So to fill this column with a series of entry numbers, we first enter a starting point by entering the value 1 into cell A2. Now I could type the numbers 1 to 20, but a quicker way to do this is to select the cell with the number 1 and then click the Fill button and select Series. Now I have to specify that my series is going down a column in a linear fashion by a step value of 1 each time, and I want to stop at the value 20. Now Excel very quickly adds the numbers 1 to 20 down that column. I don't like the numbers on the right-hand side for the purposes of an entry column, so I'm going to left justify and then double click the right side of the letter A in order to automatically adjust the width to the widest content. Now let's say that we have a series of names to enter. Now you might have to do this manually, or you might be able to paste them from another spreadsheet like I'll do here. And now that I've pasted these names, I can adjust the column width by double-clicking on the right-hand side of the letter B. Now let's say we want to separate out the first name and last name from the full names that we just entered. One of the easiest ways to do this is to use the flash fill function that's built into Excel. So for the first entry, I'll do the analysis and entry myself. I can see that the last name is Baudouin, so I can type that here. But instead of doing that again for all 20 entries, I can just use this first record to teach Excel how to complete the analysis and fill the column itself. So I select cell C2, then I go back to the fill options, and this time select flash fill. Selecting flash fill causes Excel to analyze the way that you filled in the first cell, and it looks in the table to see where you might have got that data. So it's found Baudouin in column B, and it noticed that I filled in up to the left of the comma, and it's done the same thing for all cells in the table. And now I can do the same thing for the first names. In cell D2, I note that for this entry, the first name is Leanne. I can select Leanne and ask Excel to flash fill that column. And you can see that it's selected the first names or all of the content to the right of the comma. C'est pas beautiful, ça? Now, Flash Fill doesn't always figure out how to fill a column, but it's always worth a try. And for this kind of operation where you're extracting or combining text, it works really well. So now let's say we want to know the province or territory of origin of these fictitious people. So because the number of provinces and territories is relatively limited, there are only 10 provinces and 3 territories in Canada, we could use a drop-down data list to help complete this column. So first of all, you should note that I have a second sheet here containing reference data where I've already copied and pasted data from another spreadsheet. And this sheet contains the names of all the provinces and territories in Canada, as well as their corresponding abbreviation. Now, back on the new table sheet, I'll select cell E2 and go to the Data menu and select the Data Validation button. Now we want to specify that the content in cell E2 is not just any value, it comes specifically from a list of values. And the source of this list is from sheet province list, cells A2 down to A14. And please note the absolute reference, which we're going to leave. We can also remind ourselves of how to input cell E2 by creating an input message. The title could be the type of content for the cell, and the message could be to simply select from list. Now when we close the splash box, we see that we've got instruction waiting for us and a down arrow directing us to a drop-down menu. There we see all the provinces and territories that were listed on the other sheet. And incidentally, if the content of the other sheet ever changes, this information would be automatically updated. Now we can fill down the column by click dragging the lower right hand corner of cell E2 down to E21. So this has copied the data validation rule to every cell in the column, which provides a list of data in a drop-down menu for every cell. So now we can fill each cell quickly and consistently without fear of making spelling mistakes. So having used the drop-down menu to fill each cell in column E, I can first of all adjust the column width to accommodate Newfoundland, Unit Grand, and Labrador. And now I want to fill column F with the abbreviation of the province or territory shown in column E. And I can do this quickly by using the XLOOKUP function. I first described this function in the video entitled Lookup Formulas. So I select cell F2, and I'm going to type equals to indicate a function, and then XLOOKUP, open bracket. Now to specify the value to look up, I click on cell E2. I'm going to leave it relative, and then I type comma. Then for the lookup array, I navigate to the reference sheet, and I'm going to select the names of the provinces and territories in cells A2 to A14. And I'm going to make this reference absolute because I don't want it to change. So I'm going to type F4 in order to make it the rows and columns absolute. Then I type comma, and now I select the array of the values to return, that is the abbreviations, which are found in cells B2 to B14, and I'm going to make those absolute by typing F4. I can close the function by typing a close bracket, enter, and I return to the cell where I was writing that formula, namely F2 on new table. Now I can double click the lower right hand corner of F2 to very quickly complete the column. Now you can see that the value that was looked up was relative, so it changes as we descend the column, but the reference data was absolute, so it hasn't changed. So to summarize, we've seen how series fill, flash fill, data lists, and lookup functions can be very helpful in creating new tables of data. And I hope some of these shortcuts are useful to you.